out. Let's slow down the form of transport for a moment, from high-speed to just two wheels. When MPs return after the summer parliamentary break, one of the first things they'll be debating is how to get more people cycling. But it comes at a time when cycling deaths are on the rise. We've spoken to one Nottingham biking commuter who had an horrific accident. Now, here's his story, but just to warn you that you may find some of the pictures of his injuries disturbing.
Hi, I'm Chris Goldthorpe. I'm a cyclist and I was involved in a pretty major cycling accident. The device which was holding my iPhone to safely mount it on the handlebars failed, dropping the phone straight into my front wheel. That obviously stopped me at 30 miles an hour. I landed on my face, I broke my nose, cut through my top lip and my bottom lip. I understand there's some 52 stitches there. I knocked out 6 teeth. I broke my neck, I broke my back. It's taken some 6 months to start to rebuild me, and I'm looking forward to having a bone graft to replace the bone there so they can actually screw implants into my bone, but it's going to be a long recovery. Well, I want to see what the government's doing to support cyclists generally. Cyclists is a very green thing. They do it more and more on the continent in other countries. Yes, we've got schemes like the Cycle to Work scheme. How accessible is that to everybody in the community? How much testing is going into accessories that we all use on a bike? How much is the government seriously looking at cycling to get to work? Cycle lanes are great, but how much cycle lane can we put in built-up cities like Nottingham and around the country? You know, only last week at Aldgate East down in London, a girl was killed in a cycle lane on one of Boris's bikes. Is that really going to save everybody? When it comes to cycle helmets, I think people should use cycle helmets, whether it's made law or not. I think the government should actually make a decision and say, yes, we will make this law, or no, we won't, and these are the reasons why. At the end of the day, my personal opinion is, if you were going to have an accident and hit your head, would you want to protect your head? I was wearing mine, and that's what saved my life. The front half is definitely missing, and that was a £50–60 device that saved my life, so it's probably the best £50–60 that I've spent in my life. Despite my accident, despite all of this background, I really want to get more people cycling. I feel, you know, it's a healthy way to get to work. It's cost effective and it's good for your back pocket as well. People need to look at it, but the government needs to make sure that there's a right level of safety to support people in getting to work and travelling and doing a fun bit of exercise.
Lilian, that's a pretty gruesome story from Chris, isn't it? But he still wants people to get on their bike to use the roads. But what can politicians do to make those roads safer?
Well, it was a terrible story from Chris, but it's good that he's saying that people should get on the bike, because of course it is very healthy and we want to encourage people to cycle. And there's a lot that politicians can do. We heard that a number of people have been injured on bikes recently, and particularly associated with heavy goods vehicles. More could be done to improve the safety of heavy goods vehicles, the safety equipment that can be fitted, and the government should be doing more on that rather than...
The government should be doing more?
Rather than legislating for longer heavy goods vehicles, which is making the problem worse.
Patrick, what is the government's, what's your department's view on cycling? Is it a priority?
Well, it is. Look, we want to encourage cycling, we want to help make cycling safer.
How do you do that?
It is a long-term plan. There's a lot of things you can do in engineering of roads that can start now, which is a slow process because you've got to take more account of the needs of cyclists. So
but what you've also got to take
area.
account of, surely, is that cycling deaths rose by 10% last
year.
And when other deaths are going down.
I actually acknowledge that. I made that point in the House of Commons when I released those figures, that one of the rowing elements of cycling was the 10% rise in deaths, of a small number, but still it's a very...
road safety targets, Patrick.
Yeah, but at the same time...
It's been very much criticised by the road safety industry.
The overall fatalities last year were down 7%. I think that's very welcoming. We've got one of the safest road safety records anywhere in Europe.
A lot of cyclists won't see it that way, will they? They'll think they're under threat from the articulated lorries and all sorts of things.
Well, what we've got to try, as I say, what we've got to do is, when we're doing the engineering, do that. We're making money available to local authorities to be able to take those sort of measures. And also, I want to see the money that George Osborne made available in the autumn statement that we start engineering cycling into our future development plans.
Okay, one suggestion. Should the wearing of cycle helmets, safety helmets, should that be compulsory now?
Well, I encourage people to do it. I'm not so sure that we need a law that says you've got to do it. I think people should have the choice, but we certainly encourage people to wear them.
Lilian?
Well, I always wear a cycle helmet, but I know that in other parts of the world where they have introduced compulsory helmets, it's actually led to a reduction in the number of people cycling, and that isn't what we want. So the evidence would suggest don't have a law, but do encourage people to wear a cycle helmet.
Okay, well, one of the things that Chris was telling us in the film, that he welcomes the government's so-called cycle to work scheme, this tax concession. Now, is that going to be further encouraged by the government? That's not going to be chopped at some stage?
Well, we'll look at many measures. We're seeing sort of schemes. We've put money available for those, so we'll look at many measures.
Okay, that's okay. So in terms of Labour policy, Lilian, I'm still not quite sure what Labour policy is on the cyclists. What would a Labour government do?
There are a number of things. One is when we're planning any new transport schemes, there should be a cycling safety assessment automatically as part of that to make sure it is safe. We think a proportion of the roads budget should be used to improve cycling infrastructure, like we talked about dangerous junctions. We think they should restore road safety targets, and we think they should scrap the plan to have longer heavy goods vehicles and use money from HGV charging to improve the safety of HGVs when it comes to
okay, just one more quick thought. Patrick, are you a cyclist?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
You're not. Lilian?
I am. I cycle every day to work in London.
Okay, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.